If you don't want to follow, how about Anne Marie at Bloomberg, TV and radio?
Thank you, Mr. President. You just said, I'm willing to cut spending. Speaker McCarthy says that the U.S. government needs to spend less next year than they did this year. So will you agree to that? And on China, your team has been trying to secure meetings with their Chinese counterparts. Would you consider easing some sanctions to improve relations, like the sanctions that are currently on China's defense minister? Thank you.
Yes and no. No, I'm not going to ease the sanctions, but yes, I think we should. On the front end of your question is that there's a lot that is going on relative to spending. And we have agreed to cut spending. We've cut spending, and we're going to continue to cut spending. But the question is, what base do you start from? Initially, if you remember when the Republicans introduced when the Speaker, by I guess a 4 or 5 vote majority, was able to pass what he calls extending the debt with a limitation on what you had to do to expend it in terms of the budget side. I said, I'm not going to negotiate on whether you extend the debt. I will negotiate on the budget. On the budget side of the equation, they came along and said initially, it's hard to determine where they are, quite frankly. And I don't know, you all may know more from questioning them than I do. But they came along and said, we're going to move off of the 2023 budget. And that's the baseline we're going to use for the next 2 years, that budget. And I said, well, what about what you all just voted on after the budget, which was the add-on money that you all agreed to and the House and Senate voted for? And they said, well, that includes that as well. I said, okay, well, then we may be able to work on something. So we started calculating what that would mean in terms of it came to a 22% cut for everything in the budget, but the things that have already been passed, the 5 big initiatives I've already passed in terms of infrastructure, the Affordable Care Act, et cetera. But in the meantime, what happened is that that seems to be changing. They said, well, we're going to exempt. Remember we said that, well, you're going to cut veterans because 20 said everything, that's discretionary budget. So no, we're not going to cut veterans. Okay, that's good. And initially they started off, they're going to cut Medicare, Medicaid. I said, whoa, 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 no, I mean not Medicaid, Social Security and Medicare. They said, no, 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 no. First time I ever had a negotiation in a State of the Union message. But they said, no, we're not going to cut that. Okay, well, that's off the radar. What else is off the radar? And they named some other things. And I said, well, that means if you want to get the number you wanted from freezing the budget at 2023 plus the additions you added, then it means you're going to go from 22%, you're going to end up cutting 30% or 35% discretionary budget. For example, if you calculate what they're talking about, they're going to lose 100,000 teachers and assistants. They're going to lose thousands of police officers across the board. I mean, just calculate what it means if you take all discretionary spending and you make no distinctions other than what the percentage number of the cut is. And some of it makes absolutely no sense at all. And so what we've done is we're going to have to sit down. I'm hoping that Speaker McCarthy is just waiting to negotiate with me when I get home, which has been, I don't know whether that's true or not. We'll find out. But at first we weren't making progress. Then we made a lot of progress. And then all of a sudden they came back with a proposal that was very cut back from where they had agreed or discussed. And now I don't know where we gave a counter proposal to the counter again. I know this sounds ridiculous, but that's what we did. And I'm waiting to hear their response to what we have offered. We are willing to cut spending as well as raise revenue so people start paying their fair share. Again, if this is for a town meeting, and ask, raise your hand if you think the tax structure is fair, remotely fair. What do you think? Anyway, so that's the context. No, I know that. That's under negotiation right now. I thought you said whether I would lift sanctions on material I was going to sell the Defense Department, meaning would I sell some? The answer, that's under discussion.